Okay, so for question one, we're gonna talk about how does a product use or challenge conventions, and how does it represent social groups or issues. So for the camera, at the beginning of the film, we had a wide-angle still shot of the convoy rushing past the camera. This is immediately followed by the film's title, Quicksand, which gave the movie this feel of fast-paced action straight from the start. Unlike most film openings, we decided to show the film's title at the start. Most movies show the film title at the end, which is a great technique as it catches the audience off guard and emphasizes on the start of the story. In our case, however, we have a more in-your-face approach, which fits nicely with the starting scene, as well as leaving a more tense ending. We also challenged genre conventions. For example, in conventional post-apocalyptic films, the female character is usually presented as weak and fragile. However, in our film opening, one of the characters is a katana-wielding female character. We captured her using low-angle shots from the scene where she was walking towards one of the male characters who was on the ground. This low-angle shot introduced her as a strong warrior-like character, challenging gender stereotypes present in post-apocalyptic films. It made her seem above the other character, and it challenged that convention that women are not really the warriors in post-apocalyptic films.
So editing, our film was meant to reflect upon the quick-paced elements of an action film, with action being a key aspect in post-apocalyptic genre. In order to accomplish this, quick straight cuts were used. Created and put together on Adobe Premiere Pro, matching action was a key element in our movie, with scenes such as the scout leader jumping on a squad bike having a major impact on the pace of the film. The loud rhythmic soundtrack also came to add to the action, with weapon sounds, explosions, and other sound effects adding to the suspense of the film. A good example of this sudden sound effect is the stealthy convoy observation scene, where the gunshot of the scout leader interrupts the near-silent environment. Stock effects were found in the numerous visual effects such as explosions, muzzle flashes, bullet wounds, and bullet impacts, such as metal sparks visible in the buggy when it's moving and driving away from the scouts. Loud explosion and gunshot sound effects accompanied these visuals, giving them a touch of realism.
Okay, so for narrative, Okay, so for narrative, our film opening follows a conventional style narrative. Our narrative does not have much context, which makes the audience wonder what the story behind these characters is, since not much information is revealed, which is what makes the audience want to see the full story, creating enigma around the plot. During our film opening, all the characters are killed off, and we can clearly see there are two groups fighting each other, which raises a lot of questions, like why are they fighting against each other? Who's the good guy? The ending is also very intriguing, as it ends with the last two characters shooting each other. So the audience doesn't know what happened to them, adding to the suspense and mystery of the plotline, really grabbing the attention of the audience and wanting to see more of the movie. And now it's going to be your turn, Nikita.
It is actually, yeah.
In fact, clearly it is.
We'll be back after a commercial break. Mise-en-scene. Our group insisted on not having any protagonists or antagonists in the film, creating an element of equality in intentions. Both groups want nothing but loot and gear for their survival in the wasteland. Therefore, the costumes and props were nearly the same for all groups of characters, each group having one person with a special or high-end weapon, such as Pablo with his large caliber rifle in the convoy, and me in the scout duo with a sniper rifle. All characters from both groups wore all dirty rags and rusty armor, being present on both characters. However, the steampunk goggles worn by Pablo made him stand out as a convoy leader. The dark, full-body covering costume worn by me made me stand out as a scout leader. These two leaders also stood out from the rest of the characters to their longevity. Neither of them dies in the end, which adds to the whole mystery, as Pablo said, and their use of the best class weaponry obviously also makes them stand out as the leaders from their crews.
Also, we haven't slept for around 24 hours. So, next question is, does the representation follow genre conventions? And as I talked before, we have a female character, the katana wielder, which challenges these conventions that in this post-apocalyptic environment, women are usually not fighting against anyone. They're usually scared and always hidden from the fight and everything else. Although there are some movies, such for example Mad Max Fury Road, in which one of the main characters, known as Furiosa, is a very strong character and fights against the bad guys and really shows the strong personality and character, which has features that are usually known to male characters. However, within Mad Max as well, there are also the what was his name? The main guy, the fat guy.
Immortal
Joe's wives, yeah,
Mhm.
and then they're represented using general genre conventions, as they're really fragile and scared. There are times when they do attack,
And, yeah.
but they're mostly hidden away and running away from danger. So in our film opening, this character, which is also the only woman protagonist within our film opening, and she shows how she fits in with these group of men trying to fight, and she does it so with this katana, which is not usually connoted to a female character, and we use these low angle shots and showing her how she's imposing her strength, and we challenge the genre convention, so it doesn't really follow through as she kills one of the male characters, although she is then killed off, but she's still being represented as a strong independent character. Now
We'll be back for a commercial break.
why are you wearing a hat indoors?
I will now talk about the mise-en-scene present in the film. Mise-en-scene was a major concern for our group, as it would play a key role in presenting the post-apocalyptic theme of the movie, ultimately having challenged the conventions of the genre. The classical setting for a post-apocalyptic film consists of a deserted, dim, and somewhat unsettling environment, with added tension through the use of nothing but ambience, the scene soundtrack. We tackled this convention quite well, using a desert similar to the one present in Mad Max series for a setting, although it was hard to find an area which was completely deserted for a film set. We did our best on filming in the least populated areas. The silence within the setting created during the editing process, where only ambience consisting of wind was present at the set, as well as the scene where the scouts are surveying the convoy, all match the whole silence and ambience convention before the action fast pace.
You want to talk about the props?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright. 1 second.
We should do a vlog of us doing a vlog.
Whoa.
Okay, so the props, many of which are inspired by films such as Mad Max, Fury Road, Star Wars series, and the Book of Eli, also had to match the post-apocalyptic genre criteria. In the average post-apocalyptic film, costumes are constructed of old, dirty rags, broken and old items, which would otherwise have no purpose in being worn. Rusty metal armor, capses, capes, and generally dirty tone apparel. Most antagonists would be masked off with old goggles and is this shenanigans? As these conventions, Nikita created dusty-looking capes, numerous masks, and these masks mostly consisted of old goggles, spray painted to give them an old look,
and bits of cloth attached to the goggles to have a larger portion of the face covered to add a mystery to the characters. However, I also took the idea found in Mad Max Fury Road, where a metal cage was attached to the main protagonist's face. Inspired by this, I created a similar metal cage, accompanied by a set of goggles attached to the top of the cage. Weapons found in post-apocalyptic films would either consist of age-long relics, which would be the modern weapons preserved and possibly modified for the new age, or homemade weapons such as firearms crafted out of old pipes and basic materials. I've taken all these ideas into consideration, modifying an M4A1 replica into a more savage-looking, rusty and rag-wrapped weapon, while also creating a sniper rifle from scratch using PVC pipes, rags, and old toy gun parts, which I've been spray painted to give them a more authentic look. Melee weapons also have a major were a major element in post-apocalyptic films. The arsenal, such as ammunition, would usually be impossible to find in such situations, such as an apocalypse, as it would run out and be a limited resource. However, obviously melee weapons have an unlimited use, which is why they're popular in such a genre. The Book of Eli, for example, would be a good example, where Eli, the main character, carries a machete alongside his firearms. For this reason, I thought it would be a great idea to have the female character carry a katana blade, which is a melee weapon which requires careful handling to achieve the intended effect. I also wrapped the handle of the katana in dirty rags, giving it a post-apocalyptic look.
Can you stop moving your arms the whole time?
No, I cannot.
That's called God. So the mise-en-scene conventions of a typical post-apocalyptic film, such as The Walking Dead, include mostly dim environment. However, some films, such as Mad Max Fury Road, in contrast, have really vibrant colors, which are not usually found in post-apocalyptic films. We decided to follow the Mad Max look, bringing out the desert's vibrancy through the color filters of Premiere Pro. Nevertheless, lighting remained quite dim, with no extra lighting added to the film through digital effects and physical lights. This helped create a balance between the dark and the lights, creating this desert environment without oversaturating the colors, making it look bad. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I think we're done.
I think I'm gonna go to sleep.
I think you're gonna be editing this.